Good morning, or it's morning for me, it may not be morning for you. In this video, I'm just gonna talk authentically. I just pushed play, I record. I literally have no idea what I'm gonna say, but what I know is I'm gonna be very honest with you. And I'm gonna say I'm navigating some difficult emotions right now. And what I want is to be able to connect with you. And what I hope is that by just being as honest as I can be with this video, that's going to foster the type of connection that I want and that I've been wanting, and honestly, the type of connection that I've wanted in my life for pretty much all of my life. I think what I'll do in this video is open up. I'll talk about why I'm here making these daily videos. This is episode 9 of my show. I'm the host of my own show because I decided to be, and that's what Act As If is all about. Act As If is about the idea that if there's something you want in your life, and there's a lot of things I want in my life, one of them is to be the host of my own show, which seems vain, honestly. It seems egotistical, but I don't think it is. I just think that's a belief, and it stands in my way, and I'm being honest with you about it because I think the key to getting through what we're challenged with and overcoming any negative beliefs that limit us, honestly, is just being honest, speaking them. And so that's what I'm going to do in this video, is just attempt to speak honestly, and to start out by saying I'm navigating some difficult feelings. And what I know when I say that is that it's okay. It's okay to have difficult feelings. And I guess I'll say that I lived a lot of my life imprisoned by my feelings. Imprisoned, maybe not so much by my feelings, but imprisoned by the fact that I felt afraid to share my feelings, to open up about my feelings, to feel my feelings. And I spent most of my life in therapy and going to self-development seminars and going to healers and going to healing retreats and doing all sorts of things that I was doing with the intention to feel better about myself. I just wanted to feel good about myself. I just wanted to feel confident. I wanted to feel secure. I wanted to feel comfortable in my own skin. And what I didn't realize really through a lot of it is that what I was actually doing was trying to get rid of my feelings, trying to push my feelings away, because the truth was that I had some pretty heavy feelings inside of me. And it's because of what I went through when I was a kid, which is what I'm going to open up about today, and which honestly makes me a little nervous. But what I've learned throughout my life is that the path to liberation, by liberation I mean feeling free, not feeling constricted, not feeling constrained, not feeling limited, that the path to feeling free is opening up, is being honest, is about not needing to hide when you're struggling, when you're challenged with something. Not pushing away your feelings, not feeling ashamed about what you carry. And so this is really hard for me. And it brings up a lot of feelings from my own childhood to stand in front of a camera and talk to you, because what I'm doing by doing this is sort of trusting that this is valuable to someone. That's what Act As If is about. Act As If, for me, is about acting as if the deepest wound that's run my life for so much of my life is no longer limiting me. Because the biggest wound that shaped my life was the wound that says you don't matter. That the things you have to say aren't interesting, that your perspective and your point of view doesn't count, that your feelings are bad. And it's sad because I know I'm a beautiful person. And if you're watching this, you're a beautiful person. And your perspective matters. Your opinion is maybe one of the most valuable opinions in the world. Your feelings matter, just like my feelings matter. And it's sad to go through life being so imprisoned by a set of beliefs that simply aren't true. And maybe one of the hardest things is how hard it is to overcome something like that. And I've spent, like I said, I spent my life in therapy. I did everything that I thought I was supposed to do to overcome what I felt challenged with inside of myself. And a lot of it, frankly, sent me in the wrong direction. I think I could say that therapy kept me hooked on therapy. Therapy, when I look back, therapy helped me through a lot. I had a therapist from the time I was 13 up until a few years ago. Same therapist. It's kind of wild. And certainly he helped me through some aspects, some parts of my life, helped me see things that I didn't see about myself, helped me see how my family had affected me. It was a long journey. And part of it, I think, is that healing is a process. Healing takes time. Healing is a process, especially when what you've been wounded by, or the wound that you've carried, is something that's really deep-seated. When it's something that happened very young in life, and what happened to me happened very, very young, before I had any ability to form any more rational conclusions about it. I went into sort of a survival mode and spent my life there. And so it's inevitable that you spend your childhood a certain way, with a certain outlook, feeling a certain way about yourself, learning how to act a certain way. And it's going to take a long time to unravel that, as it has been for me. But I look at therapy, I look at the Tony Robbins seminars I used to go to, all the things, all the products I used to buy and do to just help myself feel better. And I honestly feel like a lot of it was just kind of like taking advantage in a way. I don't know that it's right to say therapy was taking advantage, but I can say that therapy helped me manage throughout a lot of my life. It didn't help me heal. It didn't help me heal depression. It just helped me manage depression, right? Therapy didn't help me heal anxiety. It didn't have that window, that frame of anxiety that helped me understand it at a deeper level and could help me heal it. And I'm still learning to heal anxiety and depression. But what I know is that these aren't permanent afflictions. And showing up here and connecting with you and being open and honest like this, honestly, this is the cure. The cure is opening up, because my depression throughout my life was a depression of suppressing my authentic self, not sharing who I really was, keeping the real me hidden behind a face. Carl Jung talks about the persona, and that the persona is the face that we present the world, present to the world in order to survive. And I live my life as my persona. And Carl Jung helped me understand a lot of this. If you're not familiar with Carl Jung, let me know. And I'll talk more about him, because his insights have helped me understand myself a lot. Where am I going with this? I'm trying to stop thinking about trying to get attention, and thinking instead about just opening up. And maybe that's the path forward with what I'm doing here. Episode 9 of Act As If is about acting as if I am loved. Because all my life, all I've wanted is to be loved. All I've wanted is to feel love. And I've gone through so many relationships, so many jobs, so many different things I've done in my life, just wanting to be loved, wanting to feel love, looking for it everywhere, in every kind of person, in every kind of situation, all around the world. And it's the ultimate cliche that I never found the love I wanted to feel because I didn't feel it for myself. And so my deepest practice now is to learn to feel love for myself. Should I talk about what happened? I feel like it's such a tired story, and I think that's part of the programming of my family. So I'm going to tell you about what happened when I was a little kid. But first, I want to tell you that I went through a childhood where every time I tried to have a conversation about the things that happened, especially with my mother, I was told, stop dwelling on the past. Can't you just get over it already? There you go again, wanting to have another deep conversation that no one wants to have. And those feelings are still inside of me, that no one wants to see the real you. No one wants to hear you open up. No one cares. And I know people do. I'm acting as if people do, because that's what Act As If is about today. It's acting as if I am loved, that people care about my story, and that people get value out of listening to me, because it's taken me a long time to learn to arrive at a place where I feel like I can finally be honest. And my body's shaking because there's a child inside of me who's terrified. He's like, what are you doing? And I have to tell him, it's safe. You're safe. It's safe to open up. It's safe to be yourself. It's safe to choose not to hide anymore. You learned a lot of things in your upbringing that were just wrong. And so, yeah, let me just tell you, because we've all got our own story. We've all got our own things that happened to us, that shaped us, that wounded us. And one of the other things I'll say is that I spent all those years in therapy, all those years in personal development, all those years trying to fix myself, trying to get away from my pain, trying to find love outside of myself. And the thing that really, I think, started a shift for me was a few years back, starting to understand about trauma, starting to, understanding what trauma was. And I read the book Healing Trauma by Peter Levine, which I still come back to regularly. And I highly recommend that if you're not familiar with it. Because that book, for the first time in my life, validated to me that something I always suspected was true was actually true, which was that the things I went through as a kid were the cause of the depression and the anxiety that I struggled with, that they weren't just innate parts of me, that they weren't just the way my brain was designed and I had to just deal with it. I always knew that my depression was a result of emotions that I held that were stuck inside of me. That's what I always felt. And that was never validated to me until I read that book in my 40s. And it helped me understand how early childhood experiences shape the way you feel and how there's a process and you can heal. You can go through a process of healing. And that's what I've been going through over the last few years. And it's not an easy process for a lot of reasons maybe I'll get into in another video, but one of the hardest is that it's about learning to show up in a way that you've spent your life maybe being afraid to show up, which is what I'm doing here. So when I learned about trauma, it gave me a different lens on what I went through, and it gave me a lot of hope because it told me, and that book specifically told me that what you've gone through, what you went through when you were a kid is what led you to feel the way that you felt and what led you to have the struggles that you've had throughout your life. And it's not your fault. And you can actually heal it. And since then, like I said, I've been on a journey of healing. And healing is a process. It takes time. But it is possible. I'll tell you my story, and then I'll end this video. Thanks for hanging out. I know I went a little long on this one. Been trying to keep these to 15 minutes, because who has the attention span nowadays? But hopefully this connected with someone, because it's really hard to do this. You know, it's hard to show up with the belief that this is valuable, and I want to believe that. And it's about letting go. It's about trusting, and that's what Act As If is about acting as if what you want to be true is true. My dad took his own life a couple days before my 4th birthday. And that's a tragic thing to have happen, for a kid to have their parent just disappear out of their life like that. But then my mom checked out because she couldn't cope. And then she got remarried to a guy who moved us to America. We lived in England. I was born in England. And he became very abusive. And so I spent my entire childhood feeling terrified. And this is right now, this is where all the voices come up in my head. No one gives a shit. And it makes me angry, frankly, because it led me to suffer through so much of my life. Not the fact that I lost my dad so young, not the fact that I lost him in such a tragic way, not the fact that it devastated my entire family, not the fact that it crushed my mother and she ended up marrying a guy out of survival, not the fact that that guy ended up abusing her for many years and just destroyed her in a way that she's still affected by today in her 70s. The fact that we could never talk about it, we could never address it, we could never find the healing that comes through having honest conversations about what happened. And as a result, finding out that the pain that you struggle with isn't your fault. You don't need to carry it alone. I guess what I hope is through sharing my story being able to share what I've learned along my own journey, that I can help others, save others from the same kind of suffering that afflicted me through so much of my life and that I'm still finding my way out of. Because I know there's other kids out there surviving the same shit I went through right now, and who are younger than me, trying to find their way through the world, not knowing why they carry so much suffering, so much self-hatred, trying so hard to fix themselves. So that's my story. That's why this is hard for me. That's why I'm doing this. And it's my purpose. I've never in my life felt a deeper sense of purpose. I've never felt a deeper knowing about who I really am. And there's something to be said for going into our deepest wounds, our deepest pain, the things that maybe we spent a lifetime being told to avoid, and learning that that's not a place we're meant to go. I think if we want to really come alive, and I feel myself coming alive, even though it's hard, even though it's a lot of feelings that I've spent my life suppressing and avoiding, through going there and forgiving myself and reminding myself to love myself, it's been helping me come alive and find the freedom I've always wanted. So today is episode 9 of Act As If, and I'm acting as if I'm someone who loves himself and honors his story, and whose story is valuable and has the ability to shed light on the lives of others. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I'll see you tomorrow for episode 10.